All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm Chris Jones, and you're watching The World's Worst Fishing, and I thank you for that. Thanks for tuning in today. And it's kind of a wet, kind of dreary Super Bowl Sunday, and I know exactly what you're thinking. It's the perfect day for a Dead On Plastix review, and I agree with you. Okay, welcome back to the fish cave, everybody. So I have behind me a couple of different Plastisols. Over here, we have what equals to a little bit left of this is Color Technologies, which is better known as LureWorks. Okay, so this is LureWorks Porosol. Here's the original Dead On Plastix. This is the swim bait blend, which I'm also going to be using the swim bait blend from the new Plastisol as well. So this is the original stuff that was blended and manufactured for Dead On Plastix by Plastisol, which can also be found as bait plastics. Everybody's probably seen bait plastics in LureWorks. And then this is the new stuff, recognizable by the black bucket. So this is the new kind of all proprietary Dead On plastic. It's only their plastic. No other manufacturer makes it. And it has some really cool features, and we're gonna hopefully get into those today with some good demonstration and hopefully some good explanation on my part. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of do, if you've seen my first Dead On Plastix review, where I was looking at this stuff, you know, I kind of did a little compare and contrast with the LureWorks. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of, excuse me, we're going to measure out a little bit of each, and we're just going to kind of look at how it does. You know, how the clarity is, how the bubbles are, you know, if it scorches or not, how quickly it scorches, etc. So these two are pretty much equal as far as the blend, the actual feel and firmness of the plastic. When Dead On Plastix came out with their new stuff, they kind of kept the durometers, or you know, they kept the blends the same, you know, because they wanted their customers to probably, you know, they didn't want a big change. You know, if you were used to a certain feel for your worm plastic, well, you know, the last thing they want to do is come out with a worm plastic that is completely different. And I actually do have some worm plastic from the new black label stuff, or black bucket, and it feels pretty much indistinguishable from the original Plastisol manufactured worm plastic that I had from them a few months back. So anyway, without further ado, this is the new Dead On Plastix review, and we're gonna get started. Okay, so real quick, we're just going to see what the plastics look like, okay? And one thing that both of these are, I mean, I think one of the best qualities is that there is no hard packing. So we can see with the old stuff, the older blend from Bait Plastics here, this is not hard pack. That has been sitting for actually several weeks now, because I didn't want to use all of it because I wanted to have some left for this video, and there's no resin buildup on the spoon. I mean, I can really dig deep, and I mean, there's just nothing there. And here's the new Dead On blend right here. Okay, and this is their swim bait. So there again, I'm on the bottom, and no resin buildup. Okay, so I'm just gonna stir this a little bit, because you know, you want to make sure that you're stirring all your plastics, no matter what brand you're using. The better you stir, I just think you're going to have more consistent, better results. Now, some plastics probably require less stirring than others. You know, I'm sure that's a very subjective debate. However, no matter what you're using, you want to stir it as best you can. And just for quick demonstration, here is my old LureWorks, okay? And that's what hard packing looks like. So if you're not sure, like if you're really new to plastics and you're like, Chris, what the heck is hard packing? It's when the resin sinks to the bottom and sets up. And the reason why you want to avoid hard packing is because if you think about your blend to plastic, I mean, you can see this happen like in your salad dressing. You want to shake your salad dressing up, that way you get all the flavors that you want and not just the top layer. So same with hard packing. If all your resin's at the bottom, then when you use that plastic, you're actually getting less resin in your mix, so it's going to throw off the blend. So that's why you want to stir thoroughly and stir often if you are using a plastic that hard packs. So anyway, we're going to keep stirring this up a little bit, and just kind of wanted to show you guys who may be new to baits what hard packing is, and talk a little bit about why you want to try to avoid it. And yeah, moving on. Okay, so here we have the Lure Works, the Plastisol, the old Dead On, and then the new Dead On. And what we're going to do is we're going to cook them all clear and just kind of take a look at the clarity of each, and just see what type of bubbles we're dealing with. And again, you know, bubbles can change. Just because one may have bubbles, a lot of times that's a moisture problem. So let's say the Plastisol gets some bubbles in it, or the new Dead On, or the Lure Works. That doesn't necessarily mean that plastic bubbles by nature and that you're not going to enjoy your Lure Works or whatever you have. If you get moisture in it, any Plastisol can bubble. I mean, the moisture bubbles, that's just end of story. That's what happens. So I've done my best to get moisture out of these. These have all been in the de-airing chamber, and hopefully it's kind of now an even playing field. What we're going to do is we're going to make them all kind of a watermelon, and then different glitters for different types. So the Lure Works is going to be like a green pump or a watermelon purple. Plastisol is going to be a watermelon orange, and then the new Dead On will be like a watermelon blue, just so that once I actually shoot some baits with these, we'll know what's what. So anyway, we're going to cook these up and see what we get. So right now I have the new Dead On in the microwave, and then I'll put these two smaller ones, I'll put them in together, the Lure Works and the old Dead On. And like I said, these have all been de-aired, but just to demonstrate, like I did in the previous video, just to demonstrate the total lack of bubbles by itself without the help of a vacuum chamber of the new Dead On plastic. Kind of after we're done comparing all three, I'll dip some out of the Dead On container, and we'll put it straight in the microwave, and we'll take it out just to kind of show you that stuff is virtually bubbleless by itself. I think it's phenomenal, and it has phenomenal clarity, which we will take a look at here in just a little bit. Okay, so far we have the Lure Works right here, and then here's the Plastisol, and you can see the difference in clarity, and that's because the Lure Works, sorry, it's already set up a little bit here. Let me pull this aside. And that's because the Lure Works scorched a little bit, and I did not add heat stabilizer to any of these, and that's part of it. Okay, so real quick before the Lure Works sets up, I'm just gonna pour a quick, just all clear bait here, just a little swim bait. I'm gonna pour it very sloppily. So we're just gonna kind of pour a clear bait of each, okay? And then here is a clear bait from the Plastisol. All right. So the Plastisol is in the middle, and here is the new Dead On. It's in a little bit bigger cup. So here it is, and the Plastisol. All right. So let's see if we can do this without making it too bad. Okay. All right. Looking good there. So what we'll do is we'll let those set up real quick, and in the meantime we'll add some color to these, and then we'll check out what the colors look like. And real quick, everybody, I wanted to go ahead and talk about the new Dead On Plastix. Here it is. with the Plastisol. And so the new stuff is what's called phthalate free. I had to put the Lure Works back in the microwave. And so therefore, phthalate free plastic, it's going to be a little healthier to breathe if you happen to breathe in some fumes. It's less toxic for the environment. It's different stuff as a whole. So basically, phthalates are chemicals that are used to add like flexibility and flexibility and things like that to a plastic compound, which includes PVC. So I actually pulled up something here. So phthalates, group of chemicals used to soften and increase flexibility of plastic and vinyl. Polyvinyl chloride, PVC plastics is a common use, and apparently they're found in a lot of plastic products. I guess just different amounts for each sort of different product, I guess. So the health effects of exposure to phthalates are not yet fully known, but are being studied. One phthalate, this stuff, DEHP, oh wow, okay, can cause cancer. I guess they're not quite sure yet. Some phthalates may affect human reproduction or development. So I mean, you get the drift. I think eventually in the future the industry is going to kind of go to a phthalate-free types of plastic products. Anything from plastic forks to this. Plastisol is used widely in screen printing, and it's just kind of a good idea to, I think, use a phthalate-free. I think Lure Craft has had a phthalate-free plastic, or maybe still does. But the new Dead-On stuff, I know for a fact, is phthalate-free, and that's, I think, a very positive change. All right, so real quick, we'll just take a look at these. Like I said, they're poured very poorly. All right, so there is the Lure Works. Here is the golly, I can't even think, people. That is the Plastisol there. Okay, and over here, try and get it out. Okay, so there is the new Dead-On. You can see the clarity in these is absolutely terrific. So, as you can see, there was no clarity lost. Not that I can tell. I mean, these, you could argue that they're maybe indistinguishable. Who knows? It's really hard to tell. I mean, phenomenal clarity. And really, this Lure Works doesn't look bad either. I mean, you could make clear colors with that, and I don't think your customers are going to write you a nasty email. But, phenomenal clarity in the new Dead-On, phthalate-free. And next, I'm going to show you what I think is my favorite aspect of it, is that this stuff stays workable at much lower temperatures. Okay, everybody. So now we're going to shoot a mold with each. So here's the Lure Works right here. This is with the the purple, and that is 305 degrees. Okay, and it's still barely workable. Okay, it's pretty thick, but it'll still work. So here we go. Draw some up. Okay, and then we're just going to shoot this small mold. All right, I think that filled. Okay, very nice. All right, and again, that was a very low temperature, so very good right there on the Lure Works. Here's the Plastisol. Okay, it's 324. We'll maybe let that cool down a little more before we shoot it. Let's see what the Dead-On is. Okay, this stuff's probably a little warmer. That's about 320. It's 320, and it's still, I mean, you can see it's still very liquid. The Plastisol is, hold on, let me see what it is. So that's 324, and I don't know if it's coming through on camera. It's just not quite as runny as that, but that's okay. We'll try to let it cool down as far as we can and still inject. All right, so that's 304 degrees. I mean, that's getting there, folks. Let's see if we can just get it a little lower, though. It's we're gonna be cutting it close. All right. Oh gosh, 296. All right, we'll try it at 296. I think we'll be okay. Okay. Here we go, 296. All right. Here we go, 296. Looking good. All right, not bad at all. Not bad at all. All right. And so here is the new dead on. All right, so we're at let's mix it up a little more. All right, so that's showing about 280 degrees, all right? And it's still like super duper liquid. So for example, the Plastisol, well, actually that's kind of too small of an amount to compare them. But let's just kind of give this another mix. That way we're not just getting a surface temperature. And it's 273 degrees. And I don't think we're gonna have a problem shooting it. In fact, we'll let it get maybe a little bit colder. All right. And there again, you know, I'm not saying that these other two can't also shoot a bait this cold. I'm just saying, since I've been using the dead on, I've had to reheat a lot less, because by the time I clear my injector, demold, and then I need to shoot again, it's still ready to go. It's still workable, and I'm blown away with how with how easy it is to use. I mean, I don't have to keep I don't have to reheat as much, and I think that's a really good thing. All right, 262 degrees. We're gonna go ahead and shoot, and it's just gonna shoot like butter. This is incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. There we go. Yeah, and it's still looking good. In fact, I could probably suck up. You know what? I could probably still pour a worm with that. Let me go get a mold. Okay. So now we're at 256 degrees, and it's still able to pour fairly well. 250 degrees. All right. Yeah. So now it's starting to set up on that nozzle there. But that's okay. Yeah, it's always going to set up on your nozzle, but you know, you can look at the plastic in there and it's still pretty pourable. I have not seen that with my other plastics. And there again, I wasn't necessarily looking for that feature. I just kind of noticed it. I was like, man, you know, this stuff is really easy to shoot, and you know, whenever I go back to it, it's still ready. It hasn't started setting up. And you know, that maybe translates to a little more time you have to leave it into the molds before it sets up. I've just found it to be much more efficient, and I don't have to heat as less, or I don't have to reheat as often. Okay, so just kind of for demonstration purposes, we'll take these baits out, and you know, obviously you can't feel on camera what the plastics feel like, but those are the Lure Works there, looking good. I mean, Lure Works makes an incredible finished product. You know, they have, sorry for all the background noise, by the way, my wife is doing laundry. Anyway, yeah, but you know, Lure Works, they're very consistent. They've been in the business a long time making plastics. All right, there's the Plastisol, and then here's the new dead on. So we'll look at it along with Plastisol. And again, it almost looks like two different greens, and that's just glitter. I love it. But I'll tell you, these are really similar in feel. You know, these are both the jerkbait blend, and yeah, I mean, just they're, you know, what I like most is that they went to their own plastic, phthalate free, no upcharge for that, and the feel and the clarity and the lack of bubbles, none of that suffered. In fact, you could even argue that it got better. And it's definitely easier to use in my opinion, even than the Plastisol. Just I've had this stuff for about a month, and just from the fact that it can still shoot and still pour at such low temperatures, I'm spending less time reheating in the microwave, and that overall decreases decreases your chances of accidentally burning your plastic. So, and then here's what we just poured at 350 degrees. So I'm very impressed with the stuff, and now we're gonna heat it up and see if we can mess it up. Okay, let's see what we have now. This is very hot. 30 degrees, okay? And no degrading of the plastic yet. In fact, the glitter has actually scorched a little. However, I cannot tell any difference in the actual plastic. All right, so we're just gonna shoot some baits with it, just to, just to kind of show how it shoots at high temperatures. All right, let's take a look here. One of these was some flukes. This is the fluke mold from Angling AI. Yeah. I actually didn't top off the sprue enough, so I think the top one might have a little bit of air just in the tip of the nose. But you know what? Let me go get one of the craws from earlier. Okay, so here we have injected baits with the same cup of plastic, the same exact color, and this was injected at what was it, like 270 something degrees, and this was injected at 430 degrees, and there's no discernible difference in the actual hue or clarity of the actual green pump, or of the watermelon color. I mean, those look exactly the same here in my shop, and I mean, there's just no degrading, and that just speaks a little bit to the range of this stuff. You can heat it to all be dang and pop it out at over 400 degrees and you're still good. Or if you set your cup aside and you come back to it and it's already below 300 degrees, you're still good. You do not have to reheat. And that's something that I noticed right away. Maybe some other Plastisols do it. However, this one just kind of does it already. You don't have to look for it. You don't have to try to test its workable range. It's just there. And that's the first thing that blew me away. Okay, now let's see what we have this time. 482. Well, let's... And I don't know. I don't know if I can even get it. I keep heating it and it won't get above 480. So we're gonna go ahead and shoot some craws. The same craw, and the glitter's basically gone. I think the glitter pretty much got vaporized. So we're going to see what those look like, and we're going to compare the actual hue of the plastic, the color of the green, to the ones that we shot at 270 and at 410, and see if even at 480 degrees, see if the plastic looks like it degraded. Okay, let's see how these turned out. Yeah, the glitter is basically non-existent. Okay, so yeah, you can see the glitter basically got killed. Let me go grab one of the craws from earlier. Be right back. That's really good, guys. I mean, you could, obviously you're never gonna get your flake to look good at almost 500 degrees, but you can see the actual plastic did really well. If that glitter had stayed good, you probably even wouldn't be able to tell a difference yet. It has not degraded very much. And I'm sure there may be some guys watching thinking, well, Chris, if you really wanted to, show how, heat resistant this plastic is, you would have heated it up as high as you could go using clear plastic without the watermelon colorant. Well, this is to show, your most common normal use. Normally, you're not shooting straight clear. And if you are, you're not shooting it at 480 degrees. This is for just demonstration purposes. Here's a normal everyday color that you can still use I mean, almost at 500 degrees. I can either shoot this at 270, maybe even lower. You can pour it almost as low as 250. Or if you leave your stuff in the microwave too long and it comes out above 400 degrees, no worries. You know, you can really not see a detectable difference in how the color turns out. I'm sure, absolutely, if it was just clear and I heated it up to 340 versus 440, I'm absolutely sure that it would yellow some. I'm not saying that it won't. I'm just saying that's a little unrealistic. This is more realistic in my mind. This is what I wanted to do. I said, okay, I'm going to take your basic watermelon colors or green pumpkin, whatever you want to call this, and we're going to go from one end of the spectrum to the other, your basic everyday colors, and see if it really degrades. And it totally passed the test. Okay, and just real quick, like I said earlier, now I'm going to show you what this stuff looks like without any help from the vacuum chamber. And just for a little bit of variety, I'm just going to use some worm plastic this time, just to show you what the worm plastic looks like. So we're going to go ahead and measure some out here, about half a cup or so. Okay, and then we're going to take it straight to the microwave. All right, so that'll be about 2.5 minutes, and then we'll meet you back when it's done, and just kind of show you. You know, that this stuff doesn't really require any maintenance. Okay, and just real quick for kicks, I know this video is getting long, we're just going to pour a huge, just straight clear swim bait. Again, just to kind of look at the clarity. Alright, looking good. There we go. Okay, so we got lots of background noise right now, but anyway, I tried to pull that swim bait out of the mold too soon and broke the tail off, but you can see it makes really good clear baits. I mean, it's like holding molded water, so to speak. So anyway, stuff's definitely clear, and I'm a big fan so far. Okay, so one of the changes that Dead On made is that the new Plastisol is like a naturally sinking plastic. So here is Lure Works, and none of these have salt in them. Okay. So the Lure Works is going to kind of naturally have more of a float to it. And here's the Plastisol. The new Dead On is more of a naturally sinking plastic. So you can see both of those are already down. Now they don't sink like a brick like a Cinco, but they are naturally a sinking plastic. So, you know, you can see they're kind of floating, but then one of them's kind of sinking. And if you push them down, you know, they're certainly going to go down. And there again, I mean, you know, this is all minor stuff. I mean, you know, I'm literally showing you 3 different types of Plastisol, and you know, one of them is definitely, you know, I think the Dead On definitely sinks more. You know, if I just take them and then just drop them all in at once, you know, you can see these are floating, that's floating. You know, the new Dead On sinks a little bit more. And some people may be like, well, geez, you know, why do you want a sinking plastic? And I mean, think about all the different bait companies out there that make their lures, or that make their baits with salt. Any bait that's made with salt, a Zoom horny toad, a fluke, you know, Jethro baits, Strike King. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of companies that put salt in their bait. Well, salt makes it sink. I mean, just because you're not using a sinking plastic, your bait is still less buoyant because it has salt than something without salt. So, you know, I haven't really noticed hardly any difference as far as action in the water. And in fact, you know, the sinking plastic can actually be a good thing. It's already more dense, it has more weight because it doesn't have any natural, you know, it doesn't have anything in it that causes floating. So you can get a heavier, denser Cinco or bait without having to use salt as filler, which salt weakens your bait. So, you know, Dead On is going to come out with a floating plastic. I know that they have made that, they've actually said that on a couple of Facebook threads and things like that. So, you know, they will have something that floats, so to speak. But, you know, the minute you put a hook on it or salt in it, obviously it's not going to float. However, you know, if you want it to look a certain way under the water, yeah, I think they'll eventually have something for everybody. I don't see a problem with it. Some people might. I've already sold it to customers that have caught fish on it. I've caught fish on it. I absolutely love the stuff. But I did want to point this out to anyone that, you know, maybe wanting to use it or try it or has heard that it sinks. You know, yes, it does have more of a sink rate than other Plastisols. We can see this Lure Works now is kind of sinking when technically it shouldn't. You know, the Polysol is looking pretty good over here. But anyway, that's what it does, and you know, I'm absolutely very impressed with the stuff as a whole. You know, I would say maybe the only thing that I've seen so far is that I think it takes a little longer to cure up. I think it's gonna have a little bit of a tack to it at first, but you know, as long as you mix it thoroughly and let it cure over 24 hours, I really like what I'm getting, and I've actually gotten some positive feedback from some customers. The Morning Dawn, if you remember the Morning Dawn video, that was all with the new Dead On Plastix, and that customer has since written me back a few times, saying how much he likes the baits and especially the feel of the flukes and everything like that. So it is definitely bass and customer approved. Okay, well, that's going to wrap it up today. There's a lot of background noise. The dryer is now on, so I'm going to make this brief. Very much impressed. Like I said, it's now their own plastic. They have kind of reinvented themselves, and because such, you know, I think they have a little bit more higher quality control and definitely more flexibility with R&D. Like I said, they're coming out with a floating blend, and I think they're gonna launch another saltwater blend as well, which will add a little bit more diversity to their portfolio. So anyway, this video has been long. Thanks for tuning in. Shoot me a comment down below. Let me know what you think, and we'll catch you next time.